Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rise and Shine. This is McLean Warren with Liaison Marketing. I'm here with my co-host, Brendan Fields. He owns Rebate. And we have our guest star of the week, Carlos Alvarez. How are you today?
Amazing. Guest star. I wasn't ready for that, but my week is done. I'm ready.
We're rolling out the red carpet and bringing out the big guns here. So.
There was like 100 people and I made it. I made the cut. That's what I'm envisioning.
You did, exactly. You're on the A-list now. So thank you for being on here. We know your time is valuable. I know you just got off another podcast, so we appreciate you coming on. Before we get into the topic, which is product research, I would love to just kind of get to know you, Carlos, and your background, and just kind of give us some feedback on, not feedback, but some background on who you are and how you got into Amazon.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, first of all. And I'll try to like briefly do this, but I'm an elementary school dropout that, wound up getting jobs in my 20s that an elementary school dropout gets. And I would see all of my, friends with these 401k like jobs. So I had an expensive ex-girlfriend and I would just like run around trying to like get things to buy her. So I had all these odd jobs, and one of those odd jobs wound up being eBay. And I just got hooked on the process with eBay. Friends and family see it. They wind up investing a bunch of money in me and loaning me, I think is a better, not an invest, like loaning me money. And it's $81,000. And I immediately tried to buy my number one only product I had ever sourced from Alibaba at that time and sell it. Person ripped me off for all my money. I wind up pivoting sounds so awesome now. It was like in desperation, I crawled and with tears found, but pivoting sounds so much better now. I went to go sell two pillowcases in hand to a reptile store, and the person in front of me was paying $25 for 50 live worms. I said, I will dig for worms. I wind up finding out that you could breed them. Started breeding them in my house. My ex left me. That was too much. Insect guy was just way too much. And code enforcement goes to try to kick me out of the house one day with like 3 or 4 million crickets going off in a residential area. And I bluff them and say it would be an agricultural disaster if I throw this out. Friend of mine loans me a warehouse, half a warehouse for 4 months rent free. I wound up getting the whole thing. Nobody wants to rent with the insect guy. And fast forward almost 12 months later, selling, 150, 200 units a day of 1,000 to 4,000 insects per box. I wound up getting approached and somebody purchases my company for $2.6 million. Since then, what happened after that, I don't know how much more you want me to bore you with this, but like right after that.
This is like the most interesting story I think I've ever heard.
I love it.
No, please.
We're like going to Joe Exotic number 2 here.
Yeah.
So a few things happened then is I had never had money and elementary school dropout. So I definitely didn't have financial skills. I would say right now, I'm still not the best at financial skills. But what I did was I just started whoring around Miami. I was single and I realized what flirting was. And I realized, wow, sometimes money can you can do things that you can't do. So I started doing all that, and somebody, I forget who, but it wasn't like the accountant or the tax guy. It was just like a friend was like, you're going to go broke. Like you can't maintain this. And at that point I realized, wow, after taxes and everything and everyone taking their cut, this is what I'm left with. And no, I can't live whatever lifestyle I want for the rest of my life off of this. So the only thing I had ever succeeded at in my life was selling online. And
you were just on eBay at this point? Like you hadn't?
No, eBay and Amazon. Like we started getting to Amazon, but eBay at that point, well, the selling of the business was attracted because of Amazon. So I'm going to say that Amazon was bigger than eBay, but short of that, the majority of my sales back then were coming from eBay.
What year was this?
Oh God, let's do some math. I've had one coffee this morning. So I've been doing this full-time 15. This was probably 16 and a half years ago.
Yeah. So well before FBA, well before what most people recognize as Amazon now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely different. I a total different debate, whether it's harder or easier. I personally think it's easier. It's just different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 16 and a half years ago, we're looking at right now. Now, the only thing I knew was Amazon. So I started a brand. which was like a Hyperborean, I think it was. And it was beverage chilling devices. I was one of the first ones to get on whiskey, like the second or third to get in on Whiskey Stones and other like beverage chilling devices, which was great. Plus I started a wholesale business. So, I mean, fast forwarding all this time, I've obviously figured out that cash flow is something that you should pay attention to and a lot of other cool business lessons. But I've exited a lot of brands over the last 15 years, currently have 5 brands. And yeah, that's it. That's my boring life.
That's far from boring, in my opinion. I actually you haven't made a movie. Maybe your next venture will be to make a movie with your background.
See.
So yeah, product research. I assume you're doing product research for worms. That wasn't back in the day.
I wasn't.
That's how you research things. You just like went to pet stores and figured out what sold.
No. Well, you know, there's a little truth to that, but no, like the insects. Okay, so currently what I do is I think it's the wrong way, according to everybody. Like I don't start a business with the exit in mind. Like, I don't know how to do that. Like I start envisioning like my grandkids owning the family business, you know, and it's very emotional attachment for me. And I don't know how to run a business as hard as I run them and as many hours I invest in them without that emotional connection. And the other thing I do is I get into things that I'm passionate about or would like to be passionate about. That doesn't mean that if I'm passionate about something, I'm going to blindly sell it. Like it needs to have a market. It doesn't mean that it will be successful, but that's what I do. I'm like, if we get to pick anything we want to sell, like why would it not be something that I'm passionate about? So when I first sold the business, I was like, well, I thought I was rich. Like I was a real, you know, I don't know what kind of language we're allowed to use here, but like I was a, you know what, you know what I mean? Like, so I was a real, you know what, and you couldn't have a conversation with me without like millionaire this and I'm rich and blah, blah, blah. Like I wouldn't have a drink with me, but I was like, that's the word I was going for. I was just trying to be polite. I was trying to be polite.
I want to guess what cuss word he's going to use, but I know.
You took the words out of my mouth. So when I was like, what do rich people do? I was like, they drink really good scotch and wine. So what did I do? I started, you know, that's sort of like the inspiration for Whiskey Stones. I got into a bunch of really good, you know, whiskey. And I was like, well, you can't dilute this. This thing's a fortune. This thing cost a fortune. So it was like, so my passions fueled other things. Once I've really figured out like what I'm passionate about, and I've discovered that there's a market on Amazon. And but what I mean by that is I turn on no tools. Like personally, I think turning on tools at this stage is not a good idea. Like I do think there is a place for a lot of these tools. So I love Helium 10, by the way, but so I don't want to be picking on them, but it's like, I say, oh my God, I want to sell on Amazon. Let me open Black Box and figure out what, you know, what the crystal ball says, you know? And I'll then just do some searches. And I'm like, if I'm into this product and I'm passionate about it, I really know how people search for it. So I just do those searches and I look and I want to see some people running ads. I want to see, you know, somebody that looks like they're putting some love into the listing. And to me, that is an indicator that people are interested. The next thing I'll do is on the Facebook side is I like to see that I have for those search terms that I could easily target a direct audience. So by that, I mean, if I am, say I wanted to sell silicone baking mats, which I actually did successfully before everything got nuts, and sell silicone baking mats. I feel like targeting that on Facebook is extraordinarily hard. You know, you're targeting bakers, but not all bakers are going to want silicone baking mats. So it's difficult versus if I wanted to sell, you know, fishing lures, I could easily target fishermen, saltwater or freshwater on Facebook. So that's what I mean by more of direct targeting. So if I see that I have a clear direct path to target on Facebook, that's another check for me. Wow. And the final one is taking a page out of Ryan Levesque's books, The Ask and Choose Method. I heavily use, you know, trivia, quizzes, polls, and contests on Facebook to build an audience and poll them and question them first to see if, like, I don't want to order a product and then say, how do I build an audience? It's like, I can build the audience, then we'll get the product. And that's an email. So that's really everything. Like I've laid bare everything I do to like source for products right there.
Yeah, so I 100% agree in not using the tools. And I know that offends some people, particularly that, have investment in the tools and the software themselves, but it's all kind of funneling people into the same products, the same product categories. And it only gives you this very temporary advantage over other sellers because, the algorithms that point everybody into, the direction of such and such category or subcategory very quickly, even by the time your product arrives, you've ordered it from overseas, the manufacturer arrives, all of a sudden, in just those 2 months, you start seeing other sellers selling that same product or very similar products. So I 100% agree. That's what I've always done is just do a search, and especially after the years go by, you become pretty proficient at looking at the search results and getting an instant feel for, are people buying these products? What is the competition like? Can I produce a product that's going to be a bit different, that's going to have demand? And it just, that's a skill I guess you learn just over time selling on Amazon. But yeah, 100% agree with that approach.
So, and this question can go for both of you guys. For product research, it sounds like you guys are basically focused on Amazon and selling on Amazon. Do you look at your products as something that could potentially turn into like wholesale products that you send to stores and stuff? Or are you just like hyper focused on, Carlos, in your situation, you're using Facebook as your advertising platform, and I assume you send them to Amazon. Do you have your own storefronts that you send them to? And do you think about the long game for that, or?
That's an amazing question. You want me to answer it first, Brendan? Or I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Host has privileges, so I don't want to like steamroll you here.
No. Go ahead. Go for it.
So again, I was broke when I started, so I have a really weird model. I got into this order 2,000 units MOQ, and then you like desperately try to get back as much money as you can fast to order it again and not run out of stock. And that cycle looked dangerous to me. So what I did was I said, okay, I've either accidentally or what I'm doing is working and getting my products ranked. And it's attractive to other people that want to resell my product, even on Amazon. Mm-hmm. The only thing I could see at that time that would allow me to break that cycle was approaching people and saying, hey, look, I will sell you this product at this price, which I already knew they could turn a profit on. I'm going to make less, but you have to order 600 units. And I would do that across, say, 4 people. So now I'm pre-selling my products before they get here. And I'm starting to take advantage after a couple rounds of deeper discounted pricing from the actual factory. So I'm looking to build my profits from that end. Doing that allowed me to say, well, first of all, it allowed me to add products faster that I don't think I would have been able to get to. It really helped with cash flow. And it also made me think of, well, what other people would want to buy my products? So to this day, the brands that I've not sold, I'm in, every big box retail store that is relevant to that brand. And my websites, getting to the other question, it's because this all kind of ties in, is I felt then, like to this day, I do not have a D2C site. Like I do not have a website for any of my products that you could go to. COVID's making me rethink this, but that you could go to and like add to cart and just check out.
Right.
My sites are set up more as like corporate sites that, Bed Bath and Beyond or Walmart or any of these people would go to the site and see like, wow, this is how easy it is for us to contact them to be able to purchase products and resell it in our store. So I'm very set up for that.
So you do like B2B more. Yeah.
Correct. But I've always needed to stay current on Amazon as a seller. Like I'll have a listing sitting there. I needed to do the ads. As soon as my products became unattractive, the entire model would fall. So I ran with that forever. I'd say one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't set up the D2C site. Like I incorrectly thought that it would be a turnoff to the Walmarts of the world and seeing, well, we're going to have to compete against him directly. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not too late. Something fun to do in 2021. Did that answer all the questions, I think?
I have tons more, but Brendan.
No, I meant those questions.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. I was going to add something, but no, that was such an interesting, segment there. So, and that's what I always thought too, is if you are selling direct to consumer, it is a turn off for the big box stores because they don't want to compete with you. I mean, do you see, it sounds like you have an experience otherwise, but you suspect that selling direct to consumer now isn't necessarily going to turn off the big box stores. Is that what you think?
I'm going to say no. I don't know if that would have been the case back then. So much has changed. I can definitely say now that I am like making some introductions to somebody like a certain rep that hasn't been fired for more than 3 years at a given company. Is I develop a relationship and I'm like, hey, I know so-and-so, he's got this product. Could you really give him a shot? That's like the hardest part in getting into the stores.
Yeah.
And the person's like, well, the person immediately looks them up on Amazon. Like, this is a major buyer at one of these big box retail stores. So that makes me say that having a presence on Amazon that is successful, and your website have to help, because they also look at your domain quality score. They're looking at your different successes on Amazon. They're immediately looking at, back then, which was, what was that little clause you had, the disclaimer you had to leave on the reviews if you received them for free? Like, I received this product in exchange for an unbiased, like whatever.
Right.
They immediately look for that to see, like, was this done organically and with paid ads, or was this kind of gamed? And that helps them make a more informed decision. So I have to say yes. Like, I have to say it does help to have a site and an Amazon now, like in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. Or have Amazon already selling as, first party, selling your product through like the vendor central. Cause like, I would think, and I'm speculating, you're telling me, I guess, but I would think as soon as you get into one of the big box stores or Amazon first party through vendor central, that the others see that, and in combination with the success of, your listing on Amazon or, wherever else you're selling. And that's kind of like this positive indicator to the other stores that, hey, you know what, they're doing well there. We really got to get this product in our stores as well.
Oh, you're dead right. Like, we didn't know Vendor Central existed. And our focus was Walmart. Like, apparently that was, if you get into Walmart, you're just rich and you retire and like everything's good. Like, that was the thought. And then I'm flying all over the country because somebody said that this rep is going to be at this trade show for Walmart. And I'm like, well, I'm taking this guy out to eat. We're going to get drinks, cigars, whatever he wants. And they never show. And then one day, I'm going to call them like two young punk kids, like fresh out of college. They walk in our office. We have like 20 computers open at one time, like doing every black hat thing imaginable back then, like iPads everywhere, all these different Amazon accounts. And they introduced themselves from Amazon, and we weren't answering our emails and we weren't picking up the phone. We had a product that was selling like 80,000 pieces a month. And they're like, is this the office of? And we're like, yeah. And they tell us about Vendor Central. And the only thing that was exciting to us, honestly, was that now we could add a video to our listing. That was it.
Right.
It almost bankrupted our business. That's a whole other topic. Like, we treated it the wrong way. Vendor Central can be a bad thing if you don't know how to use it. Yeah,
that's interesting.
So to kind of circle back to you talking about using Facebook for social proof, when you say, like, I get the target audience first to make sure that the product, like, at what stage do you do that? Do you already have like the mock-up? Do you have like a sample of it and you have them, check it out? Or no, you just throw the idea out there and see what sticks?
No, like, I guess to frame it a little bit, trivia, quizzes, polls, and contests, I'm a Star Wars geek. So it doesn't matter how hard my day is. If something pops up on my feed that says, what color lightsaber would you have if you're a Jedi?
Oh no, you're one of those people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm all over it. And I'm like, fingers crossed, Darth Vader. Right. So like I take it. And the thing is, that person, I didn't give an email or anything. So it's frictionless. So that person now has identified, based on how much of that quiz I took, how not only he could tell the type of Star Wars fan I am. He could tell if I'm more Sith or Jedi. He could tell a lot, but he could tell by the completion that I did just how geeky I am. And then the next one may be something like funniest caption wins. And it shows like Darth Vader laid out, like fell on his butt on a bag of coffee. I don't know. And like you put your email, leave a funny caption, and they're going to give you a, $500 prize if you win, which is very focused on Star Wars. So now they have my email. So that allows me to segment. So the easiest way to go about it, if I have no audience, is if I wanted to launch something in, like, say, the baby space, and it was relevant to this product, I'd just get some Graco strollers and I'd start giving away a Graco stroller every week. with funniest caption and targeting people in that audience. Now, once I have them, I start introducing my idea and my product to people on my list based on scoring or how they've interacted since being on my list. So everything they open, everything they've engaged with, the people that have really interacted a lot and have on an automated way achieved X score, then I'm like, okay, we're at a spot here where I'd call it dating. Like
Mhm.
I can ask you out for coffee now. So like we've reached that stage, and that's where I start.
And that's where you get, I mean, is it at that stage, is that when you ask like specifics of like, what do you like or not like about this product? What would make it better? Questions like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Different poll. I like to say like, what would you improve about this product? It's very straightforward. It's to the point. And then I'll see if what I'm being told matches the negative reviews that I'm seeing on those products on Amazon or on the web, or if I'm discovering something that nobody, like one of them with whiskey stones. One back then, the thing with whiskey stones is people didn't like that when they'd go to drink, you'd have all these stones like coming in your
Oh,
face.
okay.
Right. So they wanted something that could not do that, but could also chill. So we came up with that sphere. And it was like a stainless steel sphere that you could chill. And it's actually what's in the inside keeps it frozen. But now when it's in the glass, the size of it prevents it from rolling out the glass when you drink. So like we wouldn't have thought of that otherwise. Like I actually thought it was a cool thing that the kind of the rocks came up to your face and they kind of clanged
Broke
and
a
stuff like
chain.
that. Yeah, chip tooth, everybody wants that. That's a true whiskey drinker.
Yeah. I think it's such an interesting thing to talk about because this is a healthy way to look at product research and get feedback on your products. So like owning a launch platform, I have sellers tell me, they talk to me every day and they say, do you know a way I can delete this bad review, or how can I, we're not a review platform, but do you know anybody I can go to buy reviews? And it's such an unhealthy way to look at product development because you can only cheat for so long, right? Like if you are selling a poor quality product and you're just constantly on this hamster wheel trying to get rid of the bad reviews, get fake reviews, and not actually working on developing a good quality product, you'll never get anywhere. Like you'll never get past that phase of just trying to make a buck. And like, I don't know, I think it's such a missing discussion within the community is how do you develop a good quality product? How do you iterate your product so that people actually like it? And once you get to that point, you don't need to be trying to delete reviews or buy fake reviews or do all the black hat stuff that it seems like everyone is doing, or many sellers are doing, at least to some extent.
And I think that speaks to, there's two different strategies that I hear from sellers. One is like utilizing, black box and keyword research to come up with a product, but they don't really focus on differentiation or making it quality. So then it's a race to the bottom, essentially, of like trying to sell it as cheap as possible, and you're competing with all these other people that are selling the same product. Where other people will say, like if you're in it for the long game, you really want to figure out how to do it so that it lasts for, it has staying power for a long period of time. And it's so different from everything else that you can put a higher price on it and people are willing to spend it.
Yeah. The first couple of years once I went through, because I've always been that person in my businesses to where I'm the, I guess, idea person. And I'm like, I'm passionate about this. And they're like, look, we're passionate about making money. Like, Carlos, whatever you think, let's do that. And we'll do the other stuff. But like, I did have some Me Too products, but I'm going to say it's been a decade that I'm just like, it's more expensive to not get a mold, how it's translated for me, whether it's hemorrhaged ad spend or like all the extra stuff I need to spend to stand out on the page. So differentiation, is, I think, the cheapest way to go.
Do you even
in
think
doing
at
this.
this, sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No,
I
no,
was
you're
gonna
good.
ask,
I get it all the time.
you're used to women interrupting you all the time. Now I totally forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the Me Too brands. Do you even think at this stage where Amazon is at that I guess it's possible, but do you think it is really a good business plan to make money with Me Too products? Because it seems like anymore it's almost impossible on Amazon to make a living that way.
Yeah, almost impossible, not meaning completely. And I think that's the trap. It's definitely a lot easier to bring something to market that's a Me Too product that's conveniently done and packaged on a picture on Alibaba. But um, I think we're definitely going in the direction that, how about this as an example? Prior to brand registry as it is now, or what we were calling 2.0, there was this huge debate in the Amazon world that you're wasting your money if you even go get a trademark.
Mhm.
Now I think like we're at a point with this that people need to get to a spot where they realize that, you know, a Me Too product is more expensive than differentiating. Um, I'm losing my train of thought here. Like you said something cool and I was going to add on it. Refresh my memory.
It must not have been that cool.
No, it was. I was about to go on a roll.
No, it's fine. Actually, Brendan and I always joke about that. Like at least one time per episode, one of us has lost her train of thought. And we're like, it looks so unprofessional, like we don't know what we're doing. But I'm like, it's human nature. We all do that.
Yeah. At least Carlos, you were smooth with it. Me and you, like, you can see in the moment we freeze, like, what does it say? And then you like say some other different thought. It just seems weird. So at least you played it off well.
Yeah.
That was smooth. Well, I've lost my train of thought now too. Brendan, your turn.
Yeah. So one idea, since now we're going to go off on different tangent, but one idea that I had when we were talking about differentiation and a sustainable way to develop on Amazon. I talked to this guy a while ago, and he sold like home security type products, and the hardware he sold on Amazon and just broke even on. And to use it, you had to get a subscription, which you would do through, you know, his website, and you'd pay some monthly subscription costs for the services that you needed to operate this home security system. And I thought that was probably the best direct to consumer business model on Amazon that I'd ever heard, where you just use Amazon as like almost a lead generation mechanism. And then you have this recurring billing off of Amazon. And I just thought of it, Carlos, because what you were talking about, you know, with sustainable, you know, products. So.
Yeah, that sounds, if you have a product that allows for something like that, that's got to be great. I think a lot of brands are doing that. I'm not at a point with any of my brands that it's just like Amazon's a pure brand awareness play. Let's just break even or take losses constantly on PPC. But there definitely are brands out there that are like that. So yeah, if you can get into a model like that, fantastic.
Yeah, because so many products, like you hear sellers all the time talk about trying to get their customers to place that second and third order directly on their website versus on Amazon. And you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. Like, as a shopper, why would I ever go and buy on your independent site? I don't know if I'm going to get the product. I'm definitely not going to get it in 1 or 2 days. You know, there's so much uncertainty that, like, if you are trying to generate sales off Amazon and use it as a lead generation mechanism, you have to have some really proprietary value proposition or just something unique about your product to pull that customer away from the platform and, you know, become a direct customer of yours. And I think there's only a handful of categories where that's easy to do. Home security was one of them where it made sense, you know, but if you're selling supplements or clothing or almost any other category of product, it's a difficult thing to do.
I think with Amazon, they make it so easy because not only can you look up your past orders, it's like you don't even have to remember what you purchased. You just go to your like past orders and you click on what you had bought, say a month ago. But not only that, but you have a subscription on Amazon where it can refill it, you know, every month, like a supplement, you know. And
Right.
so if you can make that available on your own website, you know, just make it that easy for customers to not even have to think about it. It just sends you a new bottle every month. I think that's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
part of what makes Amazon easy to use. You know, it's just easy accessibility, easy to use. People don't have to think about it. So if you
Yeah.
can create that on your own website, then you should be golden.
I agree, and I remembered that if we could take a step back, like I remember what we were talking about, and had to do. You mentioned like Me Too products, the viability of Me Too products nowadays. I'm more of the inch wide, mile deep when it comes to a product, or niching down versus the mile wide, inch deep. So I feel that the Me Too products that are just going wide and all over the place. No, I don't think I think it's going to get a lot harder for them on Amazon, because Amazon is rolling out programs like Amazon Live Video, posts, and things like that. And if you have like no rhyme or reason between your products, or you just have this boring Me Too product, it's going to be very hard for you to stand out on these other things that Amazon is giving us access to now use. So yeah, I definitely think like having a brand, having something unique is the way to go.
Do you think though that the negative side of that is it makes it harder for people to sell online in general?
I mean, is it harder? Yes, but I think if anything that validates it. Well, remember, we're talking about private label also.
Yeah.
So yes, if a person wants to get into what is probably the most complicated, the most upside, but definitely the most complicated model to sell on Amazon, then yeah, there's things that change with it, and sometimes they don't always get easier. But in my opinion, but I mean, 15% of my business to this day is wholesale. So like, what's wrong with starting a wholesale model on Amazon and growing some money and flipping that into, differentiating your product? And I don't know, just my 2 cents.
So you talked about how you get in, I don't know how you phrase it, inspiration, or you got ideas and you became passionate about it. How do you come up? Is it like one of those, like, it's like 3 a.m. and you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, this would be such a cool product, and then you do the research? Or is it kind of like you're hanging out on Amazon, you see something cool, and then that kind of leads to something different? How does your brain work, Carlos?
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely have a lot of ideas at 2, 3 a.m, but nothing that's resulted in a product. But like an example would be, I've never bonsai'd in my life, but my businesses in Q4, like pandemic and everything, feels like I've been 10 months on Q4. I'm ridiculously tired. I'm bone tired. Trying to be a rock star dad, a super present husband, a great business person. The idea of bonsai right now and just sitting down, doing nothing and focusing on this one little plant is super exciting to me right now. So I've never done it. I'm not good at it, but it's something I would like to be passionate about and like to do. That's enough for me to say, wait a minute, bonsai? Like, what's there? Like what are the things that are around bonsai that I could potentially do? So that would be like a little seed, no pun intended, but that would be like a little seed that I would want to, drop in my Trello board and say, okay, like, let's not lose this and go on with your day. You can't afford to just stop your day and spend 4 hours doing this, and then you can go back and revisit it. What I'd probably do with any other product, and I think Mike Jackness said this really well, is I do this a lot. I'm like, wow, I think this product, like something I'm thinking about it, I really like it. I will go to that store and I will stand at the end of the aisle and I will look at the other things that are matched with it on that aisle. And I'm like, okay, they bunched these things together in a logical reason. Like, what else is here? Like, what am I missing? What's the bundle? Like, what can be improved? And that will help me break through. So that's a little bit of the madness, I think.
Oh, that's brilliant. But this is totally off topic, but you talk about bonsai. Is there like a whole movement behind bonsai plants that I'm not aware of? Is this like...
No, I've been talking about it for years. I guess one day I'll get bored and have a bunch of time and then I'll do it. But no, there's nothing behind it. Like,
you don't
another one
or anything.
I meditate, but no, I don't. Nothing with bonsai. Like, another one I talk about a lot is matcha. It's like, oh, I got to get away from coffee. It's super acidic, but I like the caffeine kick. I'm like, oh, tea. And I'm like, whoa, tea. I start drinking all these teas. I like them. And then I'm like, well, what's something niche in tea? What's something like cool I can try? And I'm like, oh, matcha. And then you start looking in there and I'm like, I write that on my board and then I'll revisit it and say, like, what's there with matcha? My mind's like, wait a minute, how does this play into email marketing? I do really good with email marketing. I launch brands with email marketing. I'm like, recipes, duh, like different ways to make tea. This is like made for email. And then it starts checking these boxes and I'll go to Facebook and I'll do that. And I'm like, okay, now let's do these contest trivia and polls. And at some point I'm going to break out the tools later on, like after I've done all this, and I'll be like, what's going on here? Like, what are the keywords here that they say are important? How competitive are they? Do they match the budget that I want to start this business with? I'll start looking at the tools then.
So you still use a lot of that software programs or
Yeah, I subscribe to all of them. I think I have all of them just from the service side of my business. And then plus as a seller, it's like, I want to be able to double check stuff. At this point, I think they're all wildly off. Like when compared to my products, it's like, that's not what it sells, or something like that. I think it's close enough though to take, I use it a lot for my wholesale business too. So like if I'm on the phone with somebody and I'm like, this is a wholesaler that I want to get and I want to be able to resell their product, but I know nothing of, I don't know, these stubs that go under a table and don't scratch your floor. I can quickly use any one of these tools, pull up the screen and have an intelligent conversation with this person on the other end of the phone based on the data that this thing is showing me. And the person's like, wow, this person is really invested and really knowledgeable about what's going on with my brand and my products. So in that sense, it really helps.
Brendan, do you use Blackbox or any kind of keyword tools with your products?
No. So I was lucky when I started, I got into a very niche area that,
tell us.
I learned well. What's that?
No, I'm not just playing. Tell us.
Yeah, my special niche. Yeah, I'll keep that. I'll tell you after the podcast. And like I started learning this sub community of users of these type of products extremely well, and I never really needed to use the product research tools. So yeah, I can't contribute too much on that. I have heard, supporting what Carlos said, that you take that with a grain of salt and use that as part of your assessment, not as the full basis for deciding to source a product. So yeah.
Oh, and my kid's coming out of his cage now. Sorry, guys.
You didn't lock it?
Amateur mistake. Sorry, this is a whole COVID and kids being at home thing. Awesome. Well, as kind of a little bit of a wrap up, I mean, we could talk about this all day if you guys want, but I'm curious what you obviously talked about it, but you have your strategies, Carlos, and it seems to be working for you. Do you have, for your clients and stuff, do you have just kind of words of wisdom for what you would suggest other people do in terms of product research?
Obviously I recommend what I know. So I recommend, I don't feel comfortable recommending something I don't do. Mm-hmm. So I recommend people do what I do. 9 times out of 10 though, someone says, well, that's too complicated. Like, or how do I, you tell them email marketing and they're like, I absolutely love it. And then you check with them in 2 weeks and they're like, well, I can't figure out how to connect my something to ActiveCampaign, or like, a lot of time goes by and you're like, wow, you really could have ordered this product and had it in stock and you're still trying to figure out how to do automation. So I think everyone should play to their strengths. Like if I have a new client, I wouldn't say who's not techie. And I wouldn't say you need to start a YouTube channel on this. Like you really need to start a YouTube channel on this. But if I was talking to someone who has a ton of experience in creating video and editing video and video content creation and has a YouTube channel, I could think of a million ways you could leverage that channel to launch this product. So whatever a person's strengths are, I think they should play to them. And I think as quickly as possible, you should try to not have anything to do with anything that's even like remotely shady, or something that's going to get you suspended on your listing. Like move away from that and invest in yourself and get some skills. For me, that's email marketing. For me, that's Amazon Live Video. But that's not going to be for everyone.
Brennan, do you have any advice?
I mean, just a closing thought. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the book called Blue Ocean Strategy. It's, Carlos. So like finding an area where you don't need to compete, fiercely and compete away your margins. And I think a lot of people need to look at Amazon in kind of a broader business perspective and identify that it is deliberately a very red ocean, right? So Amazon encourages hyper competition because it's good for consumers. And so you need to kind of go into selling on Amazon with that in mind and find some way or selling in, e-commerce more broadly, with some strategy to carve out a niche where you really can, be the best provider of whatever product you're selling. Because that's really only sustainable, in my opinion, sustainable way to succeed selling online.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's all I got today. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to this awesome discussion?
I'd like to add something to what Brendan just said,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
that I agree as far as like blue ocean, red ocean. You just tapped into books, and I'm a book nerd too. So what my version of going into a blue ocean on Amazon for product sourcing is, in addition to something being passionate, and the two examples I just gave for niches apply here.
Mhm.
Everyone says on Amazon, stay away from oversized, stay away from fragile. Like everything taught says that.
Mhm.
All of my products outside of my live insects are either glass, ceramic, or porcelain. And I do really, really, really well. And it's my way of getting the closest thing to a blue ocean on Amazon, because everyone is being taught, do not do what this idiot's doing. And I just put like 45 cents to $1 into some extra packaging, and I can play football with this thing. It's safe.
Mhm.
So like adding on to what Brendan said, like that's my version of how I've done that. And the niches that I like suggested, I would also look, well, what here is like super fragile that no one would want to touch, and everyone says can't be done. And then I'm all over that. The joke is, show me something fragile and oversized, and I'm there.
I think also with a lot of my clients, it's funny, and I don't know if it's because they just don't know Americans, but a lot of the products they want to do is it's all luxury. It's all high-end luxury. That's sort of like the two words that I hear all the time. And for me, and that's fine. Like if you're really passionate about this product and you want to be luxurious or whatever, that's fine. But when everyone's trying to outbid each other in the luxury department, you kind of go through, well, what about people that are, that typical American that's making 50 grand a year, if that doesn't have luxury items, that isn't looking for that kind of stuff, or even, embarrassing products. I'm like a huge fan of selling stuff that people don't want to buy like in the store because they're too embarrassed to buy it. I think that's a great market, but people don't want to sell that stuff because it's not luxurious and it's not something that like people are usually passionate about. So I like the idea what you're saying about is kind of go against the grain and kind of, say screw the rules or screw what everyone else is doing. I'm going to go, in this direction, and it works. Um,
Does.
if that just because you guys mentioned this book and I haven't personally read it, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers haven't heard of it, do you kind of want to just touch on what it's about? I mean, I got the gist of it, but when you say blue ocean and red ocean, what exactly do you mean by that?
I, what I would say, and it's tying into what Brennan said, is red ocean symbolizes the blue water of the ocean turning red from all the blood of everybody fighting against each other, whether that's through lost profits or who's willing to make closest to a penny and stay in the game, like all of that. A Me Too product would be like the very definition of a red ocean. A blue
Mhm.
ocean would be something where not as like, I guess the extreme blue ocean would be, not only is the product fragile, like let's say a glass decanter, but it's also got this wildly wicked shape to it that none of the other standard decanters have. So you've just gotten away from everyone and all competition. There's no blood in the water. You're not fighting against anyone. It's like just your path to blaze. That would be my best description of it. Brendan? I'm like saying Brendan, like I'm calling the shots, right?
No, please do it.
On to you. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I guess like just a couple other things. So like anything where there's some barrier to entry, whether it's like a custom mold, right? So a custom mold, particularly on a big product, costs a lot, or you have just some innate strategic advantage, like you have a family member who owns a factory that makes such and such product that you can really source at a better price than anybody else. Any of those type of things that give you like, because I think a lot of people would confuse a blue ocean with like, nobody is selling this product right now. It's a very standard product. And by some, just surprise fluke thing, nobody is selling water bottles on Amazon. Obviously that's not true, but like just something like that, that's not a long-term enduring advantage. That's just, a temporary thing. You found a product that doesn't exist, that there's demand for. The way things progress now, in a month or two, you'll probably not be the only one selling that product. So I think of a blue ocean as something where it's an enduring advantage that you have offering a product that the others don't as well. So
I do have just a follow-up question because you were kind of broached on it, Brendan. But I'm curious what you guys think about creating completely new products on Amazon, and if you think Amazon is a good vehicle for something that you just invented. And I ask that because Amazon's like an end of the funnel, platform. It's like when you go on Amazon, you're looking for something specific that exists. So how do you guys recommend people that have invented something, even if it's like something that's fulfilling a need that a lot of people want? If they don't know it exists, they can't look it up on Amazon, right? So how do you guys recommend making that work, essentially?
If people are not searching for it on Amazon, I feel like you're going to have a really hard time. Like if you invent something that can get in front of search, that's obviously much better. If I had something, and I'll give you an example of how I got this wrong actually for a client, is the person is the most petite woman I've ever met in my life, and she was just frustrated that she couldn't get, like, she had to shop like in the teeny bopper section. Like, this was because she's telling me this, and she was a friend before she became a client, and she created this amazing line of like chic, sexy, petite stuff. And she asked me if she thought it would be a good idea. If I thought it would be a good idea to be on Amazon, I was like, you're going to crush it. I looked on Amazon. Shockingly, it was like nothing. Like petite on Amazon was like small. It was like, but petite for her, like small was like quadruple X. So I was like, absolutely, there would be. So we put it on there, and it was like almost nothing. And then it hit me, and it was like people that are petite, they've already sort of been trained that what they want is not on Amazon.
Right.
Like, so they're not really looking. And the people that are searching for small and extra small, they know that a small or extra small is actually their size and that would fit. So it hit me. And then I attempted to like cover up the error with like a ton of amazing, laser focused PPC. It didn't translate how I wanted. And then I was like, wait a minute, the world is bigger than Amazon. And I found out that what we're trying to do is brand awareness, and that there are a lot of better brand awareness plays that we could do, maybe even bringing some of that to Amazon. And we did that, and it wound up working. So I think if there's no traffic, if no one knows to look for your product, no matter how cool your invention is, like it'll have problems.
Or you have to utilize other platforms, like you said, to advertise it, to bring people to Amazon.
Sure.
Yeah. That's like exceedingly difficult trying to invent a market for your product. You need a lot of money, and it needs to almost be, in my opinion, like an aha thing where like they don't know they need it, but you put it in front of them through, really heavy advertising, big budget advertising. And people are like, oh my God, like I've needed that. I never knew that existed. That's a whole nother ballpark, in my opinion, than any of the stuff we're talking about. I think, in many cases, that type of advertising is, millions of dollars in venture capital type, discussion. So.
Absolutely. Well, maybe we can have you back on, Carlos, to have a whole new conversation about that. Anyway,
Awesome.
We're gonna wrap up. Carlos Alvarez, why don't you plug yourself and tell anyone who wants to, look you up, find you, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. First of all, you guys are awesome. Hopefully I can impose on your time and get you on mine. Absolutely. So I have a podcast, which I'd love feedback on. I've only been doing it a little over a year, called Wizards of Amazon. Easiest ways to get a hold of me is really anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon. And I'm always on our Telegram chat group, which is amazongroupchat.com. And what else? I think that, I put my number out.
Clubhouse now, so people can find you.
I am. Yeah.
I see you on there a lot.
Yeah. I'm on Clubhouse at Carlos Alvarez, the only social media platform where I actually got my name. So at Carlos Alvarez. And I put my number out there if anyone wants to. Nobody uses it, but you could text me. I won't pick up some random call, but 305-902-1283. So
awesome.
That's it. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Brendan Fields with Rebate. I'm McLean Warren with Liaison Marketing. Thanks again, Carlos. We really appreciate you coming on, and I'll see you at Clubhouse.
See you at Clubhouse.
Hear you at Clubhouse. Right?
Yes, I will hear you.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.